Here is an intro speech in the style of Niccolò Machiavelli, sharp, realistic, and commanding. The world is not ruled by those who try to be good at all times, but by those who understand human nature as it truly is. I am not here to sell you ideals. I am here to speak of reality. Because in politics, power, and life itself, survival belongs to those who see the world as it is, not as it should be. People are impressed by promises, but governed by actions. They speak of loyalty, yet abandon it the moment their interests change. Therefore, anyone who decides to remain virtuous in every situation will inevitably fall among those who are not, and this becomes his weakness. The wise man is not the one who always appears good, but the one who knows when goodness must be set aside. Power is not maintained through mercy alone, but through decisive and, when necessary, ruthless choices. A leader who rules only with his heart will not rule for long. What you will hear today is not a lesson in morality. It is a lesson in survival. Understand power, and you will know how to control it. Ignore power, and it will control you. This is the world of Machiavelli, where outcomes outweigh intentions, and reality stands above ideals. Human beings do not live by ideals. They live by interests. This is the first truth that must be understood by anyone who wishes to navigate power, leadership, or even ordinary human relationships. People like to believe they are guided by morals, loyalty, love, and gratitude. But these qualities are fragile and often disappear the moment circumstances change. When comfort exists, virtue is praised. When danger arrives, virtue is forgotten. This is not a condemnation of humanity, but an observation of it. To ignore this reality is not noble. It is dangerous. Those who build their actions solely on the assumption that people will behave well because it is right inevitably suffer. They expect fairness from those who seek advantage, loyalty from those who seek safety, and honesty from those who fear loss. Such expectations collapse under pressure. When faced with fear, ambition, or survival, most people choose what benefits them immediately. They justify betrayal easily and forget past favors quickly. Memory is short when self-interest is at stake. A wise leader, therefore, does not rely on what people claim to value, but on how they actually behave. This does not mean becoming cruel or malicious by default. It means understanding that kindness without authority invites exploitation. When generosity is given without strength behind it, it is no longer seen as virtue, but as weakness. Weakness does not inspire respect. It attracts opportunists. Once respect is lost, control soon follows. Appearances, however, still matter. People judge with their eyes before they judge with their minds. A ruler, a leader, or even an individual seeking influence must appear just, compassionate, and trustworthy. These qualities calm the public and create stability, but one must never be imprisoned by this image. When circumstances demand firmness, hesitation born from the desire to seem good becomes fatal. Those who cling to goodness as an absolute principle are defeated by those who treat it as a tool. Fear, unlike love, is reliable. Love exists only while it is convenient. It requires constant reward and reassurance. Fear requires only consistency. This does not mean ruling through terror or unnecessary cruelty, but ensuring that consequences are clear and unavoidable. When people understand that certain boundaries cannot be crossed without costs, order is preserved. When punishment is uncertain or delayed, disorder grows. Mercy that undermines authority ultimately harms everyone, including those it was meant to protect. Decisiveness is more humane than prolonged indecision. If harsh measures are necessary, they should be applied swiftly and once, not repeatedly. Lingering punishment breeds resentment and instability. Swift action, followed by stability and fairness, allows people to move forward. People forgive severity more easily than chaos. They forget pain faster than insecurity. Trusting entirely in others is another fatal error. Alliances shift, loyalties weaken, and promises dissolve. When danger approaches, anyone who places their survival solely in the hands of others' hands over their fate as well. Strength must come from within first. Support from others should enhance power, not replace it. Dependency invites abandonment. The greatest mistake is believing that good intentions protect you from consequences. The world does not reward intention. It responds to outcomes. A failed leader with noble intentions is still a failure. History remembers results, not excuses. Those who understand this do not waste time justifying themselves morally. They focus on effectiveness. To live and lead successfully, one must accept this uncomfortable truth. Morality and survival do not always walk together. Sometimes they collide. When they do, survival comes first. Only those who endure have the luxury to shape the future. Idealism without strength is merely hope, and hope is not a strategy. Power belongs to those who see clearly, act decisively, and understand people not as they wish them to be, but as they are. Power is not sustained by what a person is, but by what a person appears to be. This is the second essential truth. Human judgment is shallow by nature. Most people do not investigate deeply, nor do they have the time or desire to understand intentions. They react to symbols, behavior, and outcomes. What they see becomes their reality. Because of this, appearance often carries more weight than truth. Those who ignore this rule speak honestly and fail, while those who master it rule quietly. To appear virtuous is more useful than to be virtuous in every situation. People are comforted by familiar moral images: kindness, humility, fairness, generosity, and faithfulness. These qualities create trust and reduce resistance. A leader who appears compassionate calms fear. One who appears just prevents rebellion. One who appears strong deters challenge. These appearances form a protective shield, allowing authority to function smoothly. Without them, power is constantly questioned. However, to truly embody these virtues at all times is impossible and dangerous. Reality does not allow it. Circumstances arise where honesty invites destruction, mercy breeds disorder, and generosity exhausts resources. In such moments, a leader bound by moral rigidity becomes trapped by his own image. He hesitates when action is required. He delays when speed is essential. This delay becomes weakness, and weakness invites collapse. The skilled leader understands that virtue is a language spoken to the public, not a chain placed around his own hands. He learns when to use it and when to suspend it. He does not announce his flexibility, nor does he explain himself. Explanation signals insecurity. Results speak louder than justification. When success is achieved, the method is forgiven. When failure occurs, no purity of intention will save the one responsible. People rarely judge actions by their fairness. They judge them by their outcomes. If stability follows a hard decision, the decision is accepted. If chaos follows a gentle one, the gentleness is condemned. This is how public memory works. It remembers safety more than kindness, and order more than mercy. Those who protect the collective interest, even through severity, are ultimately respected. Deception, when used carefully, is not immorality, but defense. A leader who reveals every intention exposes himself to manipulation. Those who are transparent in a world that does not invite betrayal. Secrecy preserves control. Strategy requires silence. Only the naive believe that openness is always noble. In reality, it often serves those who wish to exploit it. Yet deception must be measured. Excessive lies destroy credibility, and once credibility is lost, authority collapses. Therefore, a leader must lie rarely, convincingly, and only when necessary. Consistency in public behavior creates trust, even when private actions differ. People forgive hidden actions as long as public order remains intact. Strength must always exist beneath the appearance of kindness. Kindness without strength is ignored. Strength without kindness is feared but unstable. The balance lies in being capable of force while rarely displaying it. The visible calm rests on invisible power. When people know that authority can act decisively if needed, they behave accordingly without being forced. Those who fail to manage appearances are often the most sincere. They speak truth when silence would protect them. They act gently when firmness would save them. They expect gratitude and receive resentment. The world does not reward openness. It rewards control. Control of perception, control of narrative, and control of consequence. In the end, leadership is not theater, but it uses theater. The stage must show virtue, confidence, and stability. Behind the curtain, decisions are colder, harder, and guided by necessity. Those who accept this reality endure. Those who reject it are admired briefly and destroyed permanently. It is safer to be feared than to be loved when one cannot be both. This truth is uncomfortable, yet unavoidable. Love is a bond built on emotion, and emotion is unstable. It shifts with mood, circumstance, and advantage. Fear, on the other hand, is rooted in consequence. It is rational, predictable, and enduring. When people fear the cost of disobedience, they calculate their actions carefully. When they rely on love alone, they act freely and often selfishly. Love asks for loyalty. Fear enforces it. Those who depend on love place their power in the hands of others. Love exists only as long as people choose to maintain it. The moment sacrifice is required, love weakens. When danger approaches, when resources shrink, or when opportunity tempts, affection dissolves. People abandon even those they admire if doing so protects their own interests. This is not cruelty, it is human nature. Expecting otherwise is a costly illusion. Fear does not require affection to function. It only requires consistency. People obey not because they admire authority, but because they understand the consequences of defiance. When punishment is certain and proportionate, order follows naturally. Uncertainty invites chaos. If rules exist but are not enforced, they lose meaning. If authority threatens but does not act, it becomes a subject of mockery. Respect is not requested, it is maintained through credibility. This does not mean ruling through terror or cruelty. Excessive fear breeds hatred, and hatred creates rebellion. The goal is not to make people suffer, but to make boundaries clear. Punishment should be measured, justified, and impersonal. It must be tied to actions, not emotions. When people understand that consequences are the result of their own choices, resentment is reduced. They may fear authority, but they do not despise it. Love, when combined with fear, is powerful. But when forced to choose, fear is more reliable. Love requires constant maintenance. It demands rewards, recognition, and reassurance. Fear requires only the knowledge that authority will act. When necessary, a leader exhausted by the need to be liked eventually compromises order to preserve affection. In doing so, he loses both respect and control. Mercy, when misused, weakens authority. If mercy becomes predictable, it ceases to be mercy and becomes permission. People test limits when they believe forgiveness is guaranteed. Discipline erodes slowly, then suddenly collapses. Firmness, applied early, prevents harsher measures later. A small act of severity at the right moment can prevent widespread disorder in the future. Fear also creates equality. Love is selective, given more to some than others. This breeds jealousy and division. Fear applies to all equally. When everyone is subject to the same rules and consequences, favoritism disappears. People accept authority more readily when it is impartial. Nothing undermines power faster than the belief that punishment is uneven or biased. A leader must avoid being hated. Fear without hatred is the balance. Hatred arises when authority touches what people value most: their families, their livelihoods, their dignity. As long as these remain protected, fear remains controlled. When authority crosses this line, obedience turns into resistance. The wise ruler enforces order without humiliating those who obey. In times of crisis, fear preserves stability. Love hesitates. Fear acts. When quick decisions are required, a leader bound by the desire to remain loved delays action. Delay allows chaos to spread. Fear permits decisiveness. People may complain, but they comply. Later, when stability returns, they often recognize that severity prevented collapse. Ultimately, fear is a tool, not an identity. It is not used to dominate life, but to protect order. Those who understand this wield authority with precision. Those who reject it cling to affection and lose power. Love may inspire, but fear secures. And in a world governed by uncertainty, security is the foundation of all lasting power. Decisive action, even when harsh, is more merciful and effective than prolonged hesitation. Disorder grows not from strength, but from uncertainty. When problems are allowed to linger, TI multiply. People lose confidence, factions form, and authority weakens. A leader who delays action in the hope that issues will resolve themselves often creates conditions far worse than those he feared confronting. Swift decisions limit damage. Delayed decisions spread it. When severity is required, it must be applied all at once, not in fragments. Repeated punishments keep wounds open and resentment alive. Each new act of discipline reminds people of pain and revives anger. A single, firm action, followed by stability, allows society to move forward. People adapt quickly to a new reality, but they never adapt to constant uncertainty. Consistency restores order faster than kindness mixed with hesitation. Indecision signals weakness. When authority hesitates, people test limits. They push boundaries not out of malice, but curiosity. If no response comes, they push further. What begins as a small challenge grows into open defiance. At that point, restoring order requires far greater force than would have been needed earlier. Early firmness prevents later cruelty. Cruelty, when used correctly, is controlled and purposeful. It is never emotional, never personal, and never excessive. It is directed at actions, not individuals. Its purpose is correction, not revenge. When people understand that consequences exist to protect order rather than to satisfy anger, resistance fades. Arbitrary punishment creates hatred. Structured discipline creates compliance. Mercy has value only when authority is already secure. Mercy offered too early is mistaken for weakness. People interpret forgiveness not as generosity, but as inability to enforce rules. This invites repeated offenses. True mercy comes after order is established. Once boundaries are respected, leniency strengthens loyalty rather than undermining it. A leader must also understand timing. The same action can be wise or disastrous, depending on when it is taken. Acting too late often forces extreme measures. Acting early allows moderate ones. Delay narrows options. Decisiveness preserves flexibility. Those who act promptly shape events. Those who wait are shaped by them. Public reaction to harsh decisions is often louder than lasting. People protest severity immediately, but adapt quickly when stability returns. Complaints fade faster than disorder. History judges leaders not by how gentle they were, but by whether peace and order endured. Temporary anger is a small price for long-term stability. Consistency strengthens authority. When rules are enforced predictably, people regulate themselves. Fear of uncertainty disappears, replaced by understanding. People prefer firm structure to chaotic freedom. Even those who suffer discipline benefit from a system they can predict. Unpredictable leadership creates anxiety, and anxiety breeds resistance. A leader who avoids hard decisions out of fear of judgment invites greater judgment later. Failure exposes every weakness. Success hides many flaws. Outcomes determine reputation more than intentions. Those who preserve order are forgiven for severity. Those who lose control are condemned regardless of kindness. Decisive action also protects the innocent. Disorder always harms the weak first. Delay allows exploitation, violence, and instability to spread. Firm control prevents greater suffering. Inti controlled severity is more humane than passive tolerance. Ultimately, leadership demands the courage to choose. Not choosing is still a choice, and often the worst one. The world does not pause for reflection. Events move forward, regardless of hesitation. Those who act shape events. Those who delay are crushed by them. Authority is not maintained through endless discussion, nor through emotional restraint, but through clarity of will. When a leader understands when to be firm and acts without hesitation, order follows. When he wavers, chaos waits. Stability belongs to those who decide, not those who hope. Harsh measures, when necessary, must be applied swiftly and decisively. To create lasting stability, prolonged leniency or delayed action often encourage disorder, emboldening those who test boundaries. People naturally probe limits, and if boundaries are unclear or enforcement is inconsistent, the weak, ambitious, or unscrupulous will take advantage. Repeated or delayed punishment only prolongs resentment, keeping tension alive and authority undermined. A single, firm act communicates both consequence and control, allowing the community to adjust and accept new order without ongoing fear or instability. Swift action signals strength. When leaders act decisively, they convey confidence and command respect. Authority is a perception as much as it is a fact, and consistent demonstrations of power reinforce that perception. In contrast, hesitation invites speculation, doubt, and rebellion. Those who wait to see what will happen appear uncertain, and uncertainty erodes obedience. People prefer clarity, even if the action is harsh, to chaos or indecision, because predictability allows them to plan their own behavior accordingly. This predictability is crucial for maintaining order over time. Applying harsh measures once and comprehensively is far more humane in the long run than spreading small punishments over time. Multiple acts of discipline keep wounds open, stir ongoing resentment, and encourage gossip, undermining morale and cohesion. A single, calculated act, followed by stability and predictable enforcement of rules, enables people to adjust quickly and internalize the boundaries being established. The memory of one decisive action fades faster than repeated corrections, which continually reopen old conflicts and foster continuous tension. Even when cruelty is necessary, it must be impersonal and purposeful. Punishment should target behaviors, not individuals, and must be consistent with established rules. Arbitrary acts of vengeance create hatred, which undermines authority and risks rebellion. Controlled enforcement teaches people that consequences are inevitable, predictable, and tied to actions rather than emotions. This understanding builds respect rather than resentment, reinforcing obedience and reducing the need for further enforcement. Mercy is most effective when authority is secure. If leniency is offered too early or without establishing firm control, it is perceived as weakness and can encourage further disobedience. People test the limits of what they can get away with, and premature generosity invites exploitation. Once order is firmly established, measured leniency strengthens loyalty and fosters goodwill. People appreciate mercy when they understand it comes from a position of power rather than vulnerability, and such mercy reinforces the legitimacy of authority. Timing is as critical as decisiveness. The same action can have dramatically different outcomes depending on when it is executed. Early intervention allows for moderate measures, preserving resources and goodwill, while delayed action often forces extreme responses. Prompt decision-making maintains options and demonstrates leadership, while hesitation narrows possibilities and exposes vulnerability. Leaders who recognize and seize the right moments shape events rather than being shaped by them. Public perception of harsh measures is often immediate but short-lived. People may react with anger or fear initially, but they quickly recognize the stability and order that decisive action produces. History remembers results more than temporary discomfort. Leaders who act decisively are ultimately judged by the effectiveness of their actions rather than the emotions they provoke. Stability, peace, and security outweigh the fleeting discomfort caused by firmness. And a populace that experiences clear, predictable consequences develops trust in leadership, even if initial reactions are negative. Consistency in enforcement builds long-term authority. When rules are applied predictably and fairly, people internalize boundaries, and fear of uncertainty diminishes, and respect for authority strengthens. In contrast, inconsistent enforcement creates confusion, undermines trust, and emboldens those willing to test limits. Predictable authority fosters social cohesion, making enforcement easier and reducing the need for repeated intervention. People comply willingly when they understand the rules and consequences clearly. Decisive action also protects the innocent and the larger community. Disorder, left unchecked, harms those who are vulnerable first. Delays in enforcing rules allow exploitation, violence, and opportunism to spread. By acting promptly, a leader prevents greater suffering and establishes order before minor disruptions escalate into systemic threats. Controlled severity, therefore, serves both authority and justice, maintaining social stability while discouraging exploitation. Ultimately, leadership requires the courage to act. Indecision is itself a choice, often the worst possible one. The world does not pause to accommodate hesitation. Events move forward, regardless of intent, and those who act shape outcomes while those who wait are shaped by circumstances. Authority, stability, and social order belong to those who understand when to enforce rules, act decisively, and apply firmness in a calculated, measured manner. In this way, power is preserved, loyalty is secured, and chaos is contained, ensuring the endurance of both leadership and society. In the end, leadership is not measured by intentions or ideals, but by the ability to understand reality and act decisively within it. Power belongs to those who see the world as it truly is, who balance fear and respect, strength and strategy, mercy and firmness. A wise leader knows when to act, when to appear virtuous, and when to assert authority without hesitation. Those who rely solely on love, trust in others blindly, or delay difficult decisions invite disorder and eventual failure. True authority endures because it is grounded in clarity, decisiveness, and self-survival, stability, and influence are not given, they are claimed by those who embrace the harsh truths of human nature, act with precision, and shape outcomes rather than wait for them. In understanding and applying these principles, a leader ensures not only his own power, but the lasting order of those he governs.